Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video I will be showing you how to make this cute little cow. So I will be doing it in the number 4 yarn, but you can also follow this exact same pattern using a number 6 yarn, and you can make this larger cow in the plushie yarn. I used a number 4 yarn and a 4.25 hook for the smaller one, and I used a number 6 bulky yarn and a 5.5 hook for the larger one. The small one is about 6 inches high to the top of his horns, and the larger one is about 10 inches high to the top of his horns. And I used probably about 4.5 ounces of yarn on this one. So if you have a little over 5 ounces, you should be good to make the larger cow in the bulky yarn. For this video, I am going to be doing the whole video in the Highland cow colors. So the feet are going to be light brown. The body is going to be kind of a darker reddish brown. So depending on what cow you want to make, you pick your colors, and I will refer to the hooves as the accent color and the main body as the main color. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I will be putting a drop down at the top of the screen. So if you get lost, or if I do something that doesn't make sense to you, you can just refer to that. It'll be the first 15 to 30 seconds of every row. And don't forget, if you enjoy my videos, please hit the subscribe button and you will be notified every time I load a new video. You can also hit the thumbs up button or leave me a comment. I think that is everything, so grab your yarn and let's get started. Okay, we are going to start with the legs, and you are going to need to make 4 of them. So grab your yarn, whatever color you are using for the accent color and the hooves. So you can start this any way you're comfortable with. The magic ring, the chain 2. What I do is I double my yarn, I wrap it around to make a knot, and then I just keep a little loop on the end, just a little bit bigger than my hook, or however many stitches I'm putting in, and there will be 6 single crochets in here. So if you're starting this way, insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up and through, and make 1 chain. So once we get started, how we like to start, we should all be ready right now to start row 1, and you're going to put 6 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And for round 2, we are going to be doing 6 increases all the way around. So that's 2 single crochets in every stitch for a total of 12. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Increase 3 and 4. Increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, and your last increase 11 and 12. Row 3, we're going to be going in the back loops. So instead of inserting your hook where you usually would, you're going to go down through that V and come out the back. And that is going in the back loop. Okay, so for round 3, 12 single crochets all the way around in the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and start your 12ths. Go in your back loop, grab your yarn and bring up, and now we are going to change color, so we're not going to finish off that stitch. We are going to tie our new yarn right here onto our old thread, our old color. So grab whatever color you're using for the main color, and you're just going to tie that on a couple of times. Make a couple knots like you were starting to tie your shoe. And you can cut your old color now. And you're going to grab your new color right here and just pull that through your last 12th stitch of the previous row. Now for rows 4 to 6, we are going to do 12 single crochets all the way around. And because it's only 3 rows, I am just going to count to 36 because 3 times 12 is 36. Now going back to the regular way through under both loops of the V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that's 1 row of the 3. I'm just going to flip my marker and then keep on counting. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So that was our second row of 3, and now we're going to do our last row. $25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. So that was row 3 to 6, 12 single crochets in every row. Okay, so now you are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And you're going to tie that off, and you don't need very much yarn for a tail, because this is just going to tuck inside when we get to attaching this part to the body. Okay, so you need to have 4 of these. I am going to put a screenshot in the next frame with a timestamp, so you can go back to the beginning of the foot and start over. If you're done all 4 now, just keep on watching and we will start on the next part. Okay, we are going to start with the head, but before we actually get into the pattern, because I'm doing this with the showing you the blanket yarn pattern as well, I just want to show you how I do a magic ring, and I am in no way an expert, and I haven't really studied up on it. This is just how I've done it in past years. So you're going to grab your yarn, pinch that between your thumb and your ring finger. You're going to wrap it around, and then you're going to come over and make an X. And then this piece, you're going to grab that and hold that nice and tight. Now flip your hand over, go under your front and grab your back, and then you're going to just pull that up and through, and then grab it again and make your 1 chain. And then this is what I would call the loop when I usually do my crocheting. So this doesn't count as a stitch. And then you'll start your whatever your number of single crochets are in the round. So if it's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you just pull this tail to tighten that up. And if you're using the blanket yarn, be very careful, because you do have to give it quite a good tug, and sometimes you will just break it, even if you're doing it lightly. And then you just continue on to your round 2 as normal. Okay. Now if you're going to do it how I usually do it, we are just going to fold our yarn over, wrap our yarn around our finger to create a knot so that we have a little loop on the end. And we're going to be putting 6 single crochets in there, so we want it a little bit on the smaller side. Just big enough for your hook to fit in with a little bit extra. And then we're going to grab our yarn, pull it up and through, and then chain 1 to secure our yarn to the hook, and that doesn't count as a stitch. Okay, so for round 1, we are going to put 6 single crochets into this loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab a stitch marker if you are using one. And for round 2, we are going to do 6 increases, so we'll be doing 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around. So increase, 1 and 2, increase again, 3 and 4, increase, 5 and 6, increase, 7 and 8, increase, 9 and 10, increase, 11 and 12. And I just noticed I have quite a bit of hole here, and just if you take your tail, you can just kind of pull that, and that will tighten that up a little bit. For row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and then repeat that all the way around for a total of 18. So 1, and then increase for 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, increase, 8 and 9, 10, and increase, 11 and 12, 13, increase, 14 and 15, 16, and your last increase, 17 and 18. Row 4 is going to be 2 single crochets, 1 increase for a total of 24. So 1, 2, increase for 3 and 4, 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, and an increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, increase, 15 and 16, 17, 18, and increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, and your last increase, 23 and 24. Row 5 is going to be 3 single crochets, 1 increase, and repeat that all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, your increase, 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, increase 9 and 10. 11, 12, 13, and your increase 14 and 15. 16, 17, 18, and increase 19 and 20. 21, 22, 23, increase 24 and 25. 26, 27, 28, and your last increase 29 and 30. For rows 6 to 9, you are just going to do 30 single crochets all the way around, and I am going to do 2 sets of 60 instead of doing 4 rows of 30, and then I'll just flip my stitch marker every time I hit a set of 30. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and I'm going to flip my stitch marker and keep on counting. So that was 1 row of 4, and I'm starting my second row of 4. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, So that is 2 rows of 4, and I'm going to start back down at 1 again and count to 60 like I just did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, flip my marker, and that was row 3 of 4, so this will be our last row. I'm going to just keep on counting from 30 to 60. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, and 60. So that should bring you up to ending of row 9 and ready to start row 10. Now we are going to start decreasing, and you can use the invisible decrease if you prefer, but I am going to be doing the regular. And for row 10, you're going to do 3 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, then you're going to decrease, so you go in your next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up and through. In the next stitch, grab your yarn, pull up and through, then grab your yarn and go through all 3 loops. So that was 4, 5, 6, 7, and a decrease for 8, 9, 10, 11, and a decrease for 12, 13, 14, 15, and a decrease for 16, 17, 18, 19, and a decrease for 20, 21, 22, 23, and our last decrease for 24. Row 11, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 decrease, repeat that around for a total of 18. 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and decrease for 9, 10, 11, and decrease for 12, 13, 14, and a decrease for 15, 16, 17, and our last decrease is 18. Row 12, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease for a total of 12. So 1 and decrease for 2, 3, decrease for 4, 5, decrease for 6, 7, decrease for 8, 9, decrease 10, 11, and a decrease for 12. Okay, now we're going to do something a little different. So if you're only a listener, you're going to want to watch this part, at least for the first time. Even I struggle with this because we're going to make a chain, then we're going to go around the chain, around the head, and then back up the chain, and that's how we're going to start the back. So we're going to start with a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we're going to start ignoring this stitch marker, and we are going to want to move it up to here. So when we go into our second chain to begin our next row, we can kind of, for me anyways, I need to see where that started. So it's a little tricky to get your first stitch in. What I'm going to do, which might make it easier for you, so you're going to go in the second chain from the hook, remembering that this no longer counts as anything in your stitch count. So this is your first chain from the hook. This is your second chain from the hook. So I'm just going to mark that with my needle for a second, just so I can make sure I show you the right stitch to go into. Because when you put your stitch marker in, if you're using like me, sometimes it's hard to tell which one is the second stitch. Okay. I'm going to try and go nice and slow on this row. So I'm going to mark that with my finger, take that out. So that is going to be our first stitch. See, that stitch marker is just everywhere. But once you get your first stitch in, it'll be okay. So you're going to do 1 single crochet. Just let me look here before I confirm that. We're on row. And we're going to have a total of 6 single crochets down this chain. Make sure your chain doesn't twist on you. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now you're going to put 12 stitches around the bottom of the head. So move that stitch marker a little bit over, out of your way. So your first stitch, okay, this was where you started your chain, right here. Your first stitch should go in here, but we don't want to have a space right there reaching over to that first stitch. So we're going to do a decrease in this stitch behind your stitch marker, and then in the first stitch of what would have been the next row. So I hope that makes sense. It's just so you don't have to come back and sew a hole. You're just going to do your first stitch on the head as a decrease. So see, that kind of, you would have had a hole right there, and now you won't. Okay, so you need 12 stitches around the head. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And now you need 6 stitches up the back side of the chain you made, and you want to end right here where that stitch marker, or right here where your stitches went in. However you make it, you want 6 on this side, so you have a total of 24 altogether. So I'm going to go in right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my last one, 6. Your next row is going to start up in here, so you should be able to come all the way around now. Okay, for row 13, you are going to do, 14. You are going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, for a total of 30. And you're starting right there where you marked your stitch. So 1, get that out of my way. Make sure you get over to the next stitch. 2, 3, 4, and 5 for your increase. 6, 7, 8, and increase for 9 and 10. 11, 12, 13, and an increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, and an increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, 23, and an increase, 24 and 25, 26, 27, 28, and your last increase should be 29 and 30. And it should start getting easier now. For row 15, we are going to do 4 single crochets, 1 increase, and that'll be a total of 36 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and an increase, 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an increase, 17 and 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, increase, 23 and 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and an increase, 29 and 30. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36 for our last increase. And you should kind of start maybe seeing what's happening here. Okay, for rows 16 to 19, we are going to do 36 single crochets all the way around. So that's 4 rows, and I'm going to do the same as I did the head. I'm going to do 2 rows, counting to 72, and then I'm going to start again and do the second 2 rows at 72, which will equal 4 rows of 36. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, so that's one row of 4, and I'm going to keep on counting. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72. So that's 2 of your 4 rows. So I'm going to start back at 1 again for my third of 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. So that was 3 of our 4 rows, and our 4th and last row, I'm going to keep on counting. 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72. So we should now have 19 rows. Okay, now we are going to start attaching the legs, and what we're going to be doing is putting a leg, and then we're going to put a little bit of single crochets between the legs, and then adding another leg for the back side, because we don't fall quite in the center. We're going to have to put 2 single crochets first to get to where we want our first leg. So 1, 2, then you're going to grab your leg, and you want the knot and the string facing you, kind of in the center, and you're going to kind of fold that, and over here is where you're going to put your first stitch, right about here. So grab your leg, put your hook onto that one right side, and then you're going to go through the body, and you're just going to do a single crochet. You can double check that you have it where you want it, knots towards you, only going through one side of the leg, and then when you flip it up, you're not going to see that knot. And we're going to do 6 total, so that was 1. So insert your yarn again, your hook, sorry. Go into the body, into the next stitch, and that'll be 2. And then repeat that across till you have 6. 3, 'Make sure you're always going in the next stitch, because sometimes it looks like you're going in the next one, but you're in the same one. 4, 5, 6. And I know it's a little fiddly, but if you trust the process, it will look nice in the end. So now we have our first leg attached. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets across. So 1, oopsie, 2, and 3. Grab your next leg, making sure that knot is towards you in the center. Insert your hook over on the right side somewhere. Insert your hook through the body in the next stitch, and then you're just going to do your six single crochets through the leg and the body. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then you're going to do your 3 single crochets across. 1, 2, and 3. Grab your next leg, knot and string towards you. Fold it so you can find that right side. Insert your hook through the front of the leg or the one side, and then insert it through the body. And just like you did before, do your 6 single crochets across the leg and the body. Excuse me. And I know it's awkward. Just take your time. Excuse me. Crocheting in the morning obviously is not good for my voice. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 and 6. Whoops, see, I didn't go through the body that time. And then you're going to do your 3 across. 1, 2, and 3. And then grab your last leg, knot towards you, fold it to find that right side stitch you need. And don't worry if you're doing like 3 from or 4 from the knot. All this will be hidden on the inside. All right, through the body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you should have 1 stitch left because you had your 2 on this side, and your 1 stitch on this side will be make up for those 3 in between. Now we're going to put the eyes on, and I like to put a little bit of stuffing in my head first. Sorry about that. Just so I can find the placement and be happy with where the eyes fall and are even and centered. Okay, so you are going to go down between rows 5 and 6. So find your center loop where you started. So that'll be row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you're just going to put right in between there for now. And then just have a look. Get your legs out And then just kind of hold your crochet hook. Just make sure you're in the center. And I like to go, oops, I'm gonna lose that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like to go right in the bar of a stitch and then count over. So I don't know if you can see that. So not in this hole, not in this hole, but right there in that center between the holes. And for this cow, somehow I ended up using 12mm eyes instead of 10mm eyes, and I don't know how I did that, but I did put these ones 4 stitches over from center on each side, and then I brought them in because I was going to do that with the larger cow. So if you want your eyes to be shaped a bit, especially if you're doing this one, whoops, I do not have enough room. If you're doing this one, you're going to want to put them 4 from center instead of 3 from center like we did all our other animals. So let's do that on this one since all the rest are done the other way. So once you have your center, you're going to go over 4 holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to put your 10mm eye in there unless you prefer a different size. And if you're doing the bigger one, I think I used 8 or 20mm eyes. So go 4 over on this side. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they are going to look far apart, but remember, you are going to be bringing them in like this closer to the end of the video. So I'm happy with that. So we are going to put the backs on. Let's take that stuffing back out. Whoopsie. Knocking everybody over. No, really not. Okay. They've fallen over. Just listen for those clicks. And do your other one. And then now restuff your head. And be careful not to overstuff, especially right here. Because if you're doing white, it's not so bad, but if you're doing a darker color, you are gonna see that white stuffing a little bit in there. So you just want to be careful not to spread open where you decreased. And I think that's good enough. And now we will do the next part. Okay, so for row 21, I believe, all we're going to do is decrease all the way around. Our last row was 36 single crochets, so logically our next row should be 18 decreases, but because we don't want any holes where the legs are joined to the body, we are going to probably be putting extra decreases all the way around in there. So don't worry what your stitch count is around here, as long as you've gone in here and made that nice and tight. So mine have always been about between 24 and 26 decreases. Anything close to that will be okay. Okay, so for row 21, just decrease all the way around. So 1. And so see, I'm going to go here and here, where I probably should be going here and over here. 2. 3. And when you get to your knot, you want to be going from this stitch behind the V over to this stitch where you slip stitched. You don't want to go up in here because then you're adding a stitch to your character. So since I just went here behind the V, my next decrease starts way over here under the knot where we slip stitched. So I believe that was 3 decreases. So now this will be 4. And when you go around that knot, try and make sure it's behind all your thread, and then it'll be on the inside. 4. 5. And wherever you need to go here, go 6. 7. And then again, decrease wherever you need to. Is that 7? This will be 8, I think. 9. And then you're going around that knot again. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. And see, I'm already at 18, and I'm just a little over 3/4 around. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. Excuse me. And 24. And don't worry if you have more or less than 24. Well, you probably should have more, but not less. But as long as you are comfortable that there's not going to be any holes going around, then you've done a good job. Okay, for row 22, we're just going to do the exact same thing. Decrease all the way around, and you should have half of whatever stitch count you ended up on. So I ended up on 24, so I should have 12 decreases now going around. And again, don't worry if your number's different, as long as you're decreasing around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And then you can just slip stitch into the next stitch. Tie that off. Now when you tie this off, leave yourself a long tail, because we are going to take this tail and we are going to bring it up and out here, and we're going to crochet his little tail with the same string. So I'm pulling mine doubled all the way as far as my arm can reach. And yeah, you probably don't need that much, but I like to have extra if I need it. Plus new stitch markers. Not that I need more scraps, but okay, so now we are going to add the stuffing, and you just want to get about 3, he's got 4 legs. 4 chunks about the same size, not a lot. I might have too much here, but let's see. And first you're going to stuff his legs. Ideally, they should be flat on the bottom, because that's the whole reason we went in the back loop. But all of mine are curving, and I'm just letting them do that. Most importantly, you just want to make sure that you have about the same amount in each leg, just so he kind of sits even. Sorry, I was outside a little bit ago for a while, and now the cold is making my nose a little sniffly. So I apologize. I have to, okay, so give them a feel. This one somehow doesn't have enough, and yet I thought I overstuffed him. Okay. Then when you do the body, I like to put a little bit to the front and then a little bit to the back, and then kind of see how it's looking. I think that's, no, I'll put a little bit more in. Be careful when you're doing this, because it's very easy to pull the back of him stitches apart. And of course, if you're using the plush yarn, you can put a ton more stuffing in than if you're using the little number 4 yarn. And I'm just going to show you what the bottom of this cow's, I don't know if you can see, but you can't even tell that they were supposed to be flat. But I think it looks okay. And then the little one, you can see the ridges, but you don't really, I know it's black, so it's hard to tell. So see, here's your ridges. If you want them to be flat, you just keep pushing them up a bit. But, okay. So let's close the bottom up. Thread your tail. And I'm going to regret making mine so long right about now. And you're just going to weave in and out of that last row, making sure you don't get that long thread twisted around a leg before you pull this tight. And if you're using the plush yarn, you might want to go halfway and give it a tug and then go the rest of the way, because it is really easy to break, because you're going to be going through about 12 stitches. Oh, I think I'll just go one more time down there. Okay, so now give it a pull to close up that hole. Very carefully, bring your legs in if you need to. Support that string as you're pulling it in. Oh, that one went really nice. And then you're just going to tie it off somewhere right close. And I'm holding onto my string because I like how tight this one is. So it makes it a little more difficult, but it is definitely worth it. And then just close that knot. Now, if you find you have a lot of holes here that you don't like, you can always go back and forth and kind of just cover that up. But your legs will also cover that up later on. And then you're just going to take that through your body and out through kind of where the little point is on the bum. Just kind of decide where you want the center of that to be. And I'm going to go over, I wanted to get around that little bump. There we go. So I'm just bringing mine up and through right here. You can tie it again if you want. Whoop. Pulling the wrong side here. And then just grab your hook. You're going to go down into one of these stitches. Grab your yarn. I have the stuffing in the way there. How did I do that? Let's get that. All right. Grab your yarn and then just chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're just going to tie that off. And look, I had way too much yarn. I'm going to leave a little bit to weave up the tail and hide down inside. So you're just going to go up and down through your chains. And then come back out somewhere on the bottom. Now when you do this part, make sure, maybe I should have went through a couple first. There we go. I thought I was trying to do it faster, but I could have just done a couple at a time. Then you want to make sure you pull that through, but don't tighten the length of your tail. So you want to make sure you're holding that end so your tail's still the same length. And then you can either cut that or tie that. I think I'm going to tie mine. Making sure I don't shorten my tail at all, and then just get rid of that somewhere. Okay, let's do the ears. So you are going to make your knot with the loop on the end, or however you like to start. Insert your hook. Grab your yarn, pull up and through, chain 1 to attach it. Remembering that does not count as a stitch. And for row 1, we are going to put 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one. And row 2, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 9. So 1 increase, 2 and 3, 4, increase, 5 and 6, 7, and an increase, 8 and 9. For row 3, we are going to do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, repeat that around for a total of 12. So 1, 2, increase, 3 and 4, 5, 6, increase, 7 and 8, 9, 10, and increase 11 and 12. For row 4, we are going to do 2 single crochets and 1 decrease for a total of 9. So 1, 2, and a decrease for 3, 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, 8, and a decrease for 9. For row 5, you're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease for a total of 6. So 1, decrease for 2, 3, decrease for 4, 5, and decrease for 6. Now you're going to fold that in half, your stitches on the right, and you're just going to do 2 single crochets through both sides of the ear to close that off. So 1, pull it tight if you need to, and 2. Pull that tight if you need to. And leave yourself a little bit of a tail so you can sew that on later. And you need to make 2 of these, so I will put a screenshot in the next frame so you can go back to the timestamp and do your second ear. And if you're already done your second ear, just keep on watching and we will move on to the next part. Okay, you should have your 2 ears done, and now we are going to do the horns, and you're going to need 2 of these as well. So make your knot with the loop on the end, or however you're comfortable starting. Grab your yarn, pull through, and chain 1. For row 1, we are going to put 6 single crochets into the loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to grab a stitch marker just so you can see better what I'm doing, but if you don't need one, this will be a lot easier. For row 2, we're going to do 6 single crochets all the way around. So again, 1, 2, make sure you're moving over, getting in the next stitch and not going where you just went. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And for round 3, we're going to do the same thing. 6 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and excuse me, 6. Then you are just going to tie that off with a slip stitch. And leave some tail for sewing. And I'm going to do the same thing, screenshot in the next frame if you need to go back. If you remember, just hit pause or whatever you need to do, and then we will continue on to the next part. Okay, we're going to make the muzzle now. So I'll be using the brown, but if you need to, if you're making the white one, you'll want to probably do pink, I'm assuming. And I'm just going to say, if you struggle with these muzzles, don't worry, I do too. I'm going to go nice and slow. The only reason it might look like it's going smoothly is because I'm able to stop and then re-record a new video when I make a mistake. So we're going to be making a chain. So around your finger and then your knot and your loop, just like we have been. And we are going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And what we're going to be doing is increasing on each end, and then we're going to have the same amount of stitches on one side of the chain and then the same amount of stitches on the other side of the chain. To begin, we're going to end up going in the second stitch from the hook. So this loop on your hook does not count. This is your first stitch, and then this is your second stitch. And I will be using a little stitch marker because I am never good at finding where I started once I get around. And I'm going to go nice and slow for you guys. And I'm also going to do something new. I'm going to try and leave the drop down for you to see as long as I can for each set of stitches around. So it's not going to be like I usually do, where you'll see it for 15 seconds and then I'll just show you. So let me know if you like that better. That was a request from one viewer. Unfortunately, I can't do it as long as I'd like to, but it will be at least 30 seconds long. Okay, so for round 1, going in this second stitch, we are going to do an increase. So that's 2 stitches, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And then we are going to do 5 single crochets across the chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we are going to start going around to this side and slowly turning as we go. So in this end, we are going to be putting 3 single crochets. So 1, turn your work slightly and don't worry about this knot, it will be hidden in the back. 2, and then keep on turning so you're seeing the bottom side of your original chain, and 3. All in that, oops, I didn't put it in quite right. And 3. And now we are going to do our 5 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we are going to do 1 single crochet right where we started in that end chain. So you should have something that looks like this. Round 2, we are going to do the same thing. Increase on each side, and then we'll have 5 single crochets on the top and the bottom. So beginning where I have this stitch marker, we are going to do, for round 2, 1 single crochet and then 1 increase. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Now we're going to do our 5 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to go around the corner. So we are going to do 1 increase, 1 single crochet, and 1 increase. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, single crochet, and then an increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. And now we're going to do our 5 single crochets across. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to do our last increase at the end of the row. So 1 and 2 in the same stitch. All right, so now we have done the hardest part of this piece. And now we are just going to do 20 single crochets all the way around for the next 2 rows. So I'm just going to do 40 and flip my marker when I get to the first set of 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that was our first of 2 rows of 20. So I'm just going to keep on counting. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. So that's the end of our 2 rows of 20. And then we're just going to put a slip stitch in the next stitch, and we're going to tie that off, leaving ourselves a tail to sew that on. Now I didn't add the mouth to the little cow. I didn't really know if it was a benefit or not, but I do think the larger cow is better with the mouth. So I'm just going to show you quickly how to do that, and if you're not doing a mouth you can just skip it, but it's only 6 stitches, so it's not very long. So you're going to leave yourself a bit of a tail in case you need that for attaching. Then you're just going to make your knot with the loop. You can use a magic circle for this if you want. And all you're going to do is put 6 single crochets into the loop. So attach your yarn by with your chain, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then slip stitch down through your loop. If you're using a magic circle, you'll have to bring that in first, I would think. I can't. I'm catching on a string here. There it is. Who knew a slip stitch would be so hard? There we go. And then just pull that through. And you're going to keep it so it's not round. So one side is flat and then the other side is rounded. and then that will just be stitched on the bottom like that. Okay, you should have your muzzle, your little lip if you made one, your 2 horns, your 2 ears, and then of course your body. And I am going to just give you a quick look at the 2 finished ones, just so you can see them again. Just because we are going to pin on all the parts, so you kind of know what's happening. And the big one and the little one are going to be pinned exactly the same, so it'll be the same amount of rows, the same amount of stitches over or down. And we are going to start with the mouth. So grab your muzzle, and you want to put a little bit of stuffing in there. If you are going to be shaping it a bit, you want it a little fuller, but you might want to add the extra stuffing when you're almost finished sewing it on, just so it's a little easier to sew on. So you want to place that just under where you put the eyes. So you put the eyes in this row between 5 and 6. So you want to go down between 6 and 7 and just center that right about there. Kind of look at it and make sure you're happy. Grab your pins and then just start pinning. I like to start in the center on the top, and then I put one on the bottom. Make sure your stuffing is on the inside and you're not catching it. Double check that you're happy with that. Then hold it fairly firmly. And then you're just going to put some pins around the side. And for my little cow, and I believe the big cow, I think I was about 3 or 4 stitches wide on my going around. Just whatever feels right for you. Put as many in as you need. Making sure that this top row is nice and straight across that line. The bottom doesn't matter quite as much. Looks like I'm going to use a lot of pins today. If you don't have a bunch of pins, you can always just do along where you're starting and around to this side, and then as you remove these pins, you can pin them back down on the bottom. I think that's good enough for now. And remember, these eyes are probably being brought in after we're done, so don't worry about how funny it looks at the moment. We will try and fix that later on. Then we're going to do the horns. So we will put a little bit of stuffing in there. You don't need a lot. Sometimes just the tail of your string is enough. You just want it to kind of stay round on the bottom for when you're sewing it on. than the other one, but we'll see how this works out. I'll just add a tiny little bit more. This is all your preference on how firm you want it. And then you're just going to take your horn with your tail somewhere kind of just behind, because you're going to want to start here and end there. And I'm just going just one row over from the your first loop, so I'm going to be going right in here, and then kind of even with the arms or legs, I guess, just kind of a little in front of center maybe. And we're just pinning now, so you can always move them later if you change your mind. Where's my other one? And you're just going to match that other horn to what you just did. Kind of keep in mind which rows you're pinning everything on. And grab your ears, and they're only going to be 2 stitches wide, or 2 rows wide. So when you sew these on, this stitch will be going right where your horn stitch is. For now, I just got to get it as close as I can. And I'm putting them right under the center of the horn instead of behind or in front. Again, that will be your own, oops, I used green, let's keep with green. That will be your own personal decision where you want these. And keep your string up top. It's not so important right now, but it will be when we get sewing. So right under that horn. And right under that horn. Have a look to see if you're happy with that. And when we get to the mouth or the lip or whatever, it will go under here if you're doing that. So let's start with the mouth. We'll see if the other parts stay on or not. I might be pulling them off. And what you're going to do is you're going to be going under the muzzle and then coming up through a stitch. And you want to make sure you're under because you don't want to see these little stitch lines going around your mouth. So under a row. Not quite getting it. It shouldn't be this hard. There we go. Making sure your mouth is kind of staying in place. And then you're going to come up a stitch. Making sure you get through both loops of that stitch. And then you're going to go down the next stitch. Around the row. And then the next stitch. And now you're going across the top, so you want to make sure all your stitches go into that this row going around. I might have to get rid of one pin. If you can go through that and come up. Usually I have to go down, pull it up, and then go through the next stitch. Like this one, I'm going to have to. Come up the next stitch. I think I'll do one more to the side of that eye. And then I'll start going down. Now if you didn't pin your bottom very good, just kind of check it. It's a lot easier to fix your mistakes now than it is after you've sewed it on. I think that's okay. So now we're going to work down the rows again. And make sure the stuffing is in when you're doing that, because you don't want that poking out. Now we'll try and go straight along the bottom. My stuffing is getting in my way here. Every stitch in and out. I guess while I'm doing this, I can do the drill. If you like my videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button and then you'll be notified, and that really helps me out too. You can hit the thumbs up button. You can leave me a comment. I try to respond to them all, unless you leave me a request, and then I leave that until I hopefully get your request done. Some of them will be longer than others. I also have a Facebook craft page that will be linked down in the description. If you just click see more, it will take you to my page. I think it'll be about halfway done under all the other links, and it will say Facebook craft page share or YouTube share, and you don't have to follow me or join anything. You just go and find the pinned post at the top of the page, and you can leave me a photo in the comments. Okay, so now we're at the end, so we are just going to tie a knot. And then hide that down. Or no, not yet. This one we're gonna sculpt this one, I guess. Just because it does look a lot cuter on the plush one. So what you want to do is you're going to bring your yarn tail kind of into the center, maybe one stitch on either side of the center. And you are going to go up and down a couple of times from the center of the top to the center of the bottom. And then just kind of pull that, and see that's a little crooked. So I'm going to have to come up the other side now. So I can fix that. Or I might come up the center and then go the other way. I think that's what we'll do. You're just going to have to play with it a bit. I'm not really great at this. I've only just kind of started doing this lately. But your bottom lip thing is also going to go where this dent is on the bottom. So it doesn't look as good with the little cow, in my opinion. Maybe I pulled it a little too tight. Undo that a bit. So do that as many times as you need to. The more stuffing you have in here, the better it will look. And then I'm just going to tie that off. And bring that out the back somewhere. Then we will put the little, yeah, that doesn't look that great. Hopefully you guys did a little better. It'll look really good with the plush yarn though. So I'm going to take the ears off so that I can get around the horns nice. Double check that they are where I want them. I might move this pin down a bit, but it's still kind of where I want it. And you're going to sew these on the same way you sewed the muzzle on. You're going to go under, pick a piece of yarn underneath in the round, and then you're just going to go up and down through all the stitches. Trying to grab both parts of the V. I should have pinned this more. I can already tell it's moving. Let's just get the stuffing out of your way. I had somebody ask me today in the comments for my permission to sell what they made from my pattern. And I thought I made it clear in my opening that yes, feel free to sell as many as you want, whatever price you can get for them. That's the whole point of me sharing this. You can make and sell your own things. So feel free. But I mean, I appreciate being asked. That was nice because I guess some people don't allow it. So thank you for asking. And I hope you sell lots. As well as anybody else. All right, is that on? I think so. So you're just gonna make a little knot somewhere right down close. I might come down where I knotted it there, where I tied off, just one more little secure stitch, and then I'm gonna tie it. Oopsie daisy. And then you're just going to bring it down as close to the horn as you can, and then out the center back somewhere. And I apologize if I'm going off camera here. I kind of have my phone angled a weird way, so I have to look around my phone to see what I'm doing. So I just kind of look every once in a while. So far when I look, it's not the best view, but it's at least in the camera. I don't know what would be going on if you had captions on or anything. It might be hidden then. So we're just going to do the same thing for the other horn. Maybe before we get too far, just remind you, double check that they're even and where you want them. I didn't just look, so I'd make sure you guys have a peek. And just go down and around, through a stitch and through a round. Well, how are you? If you're trying to plush yarn, I hope you guys are doing okay. I don't know how tricky it is to do so many. Well, I do know, but depending on what yarn you're using, make sure you're not pulling so hard that you're snapping your yarn, because that's just a real shame to do all the work and then the yarn snaps and you either have to make the piece again or restart. So I'm just going to go down one more. I think I'm going to come. Where do I want to go? I need a stitch in there, but I don't want to go too low because I want to match where I ended on the other one. I'm just going to come up here and then tie it. Okay, so I'm just going to tie that somewhere too now. So I tied mine there. So let's tie this one here. Nice and tight and as close to the horn as you can. And then try and hide it down and out where you brought your other string. Give it one tie, but don't pull yet. Before you pull, let's turn it around. See what we think of that. Looks like a little alien cow now. And if you want to give them a, well, it's not moving much. Guess it's too close. If they need to come in a bit pulling that usually will bring them in, but I guess they're good enough. So give it another couple ties, and then you're going to put them out the back somewhere. Also, I know I'm not showing a lot of my other stuff in the background, but if you've done any of my videos and you see something in the background, everything on the table, once I get the horse done now, we'll have a video. You just have to go click on my channel, which is the picture, and it will, then you can click show all the videos, or you can click the playlist and it will take you to amigurumi or quick and easy. Some of them have double. This is going to bug the heck out of me. I think I'm gonna have to undo this and fix it after. Oh, we'll see what happens once we get more on. Okay. So now we're going to do the ears. You don't really need to pin them back on now because it's just 2 stitches and you'll know exactly where to put them, because you're just going to go somewhere in the middle of your horn in that same row where you sewed it on. So it should be, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, somewhere around row 4. And you're just going to go from the back to the front. Then you're going to go in your first single crochet you made when you were closing it up. I'm going to do that one more time. So go under in that same row. And then through that first single crochet again. Sorry if my hands are in the way. I'm trying to at least show you when I put the stitch in. And then you're going to go 1 row below where that stitch was. So that's where your first stitch was. Your next stitch is just going to go 1 row below. And through the second single crochet you made when you were closing it up. And then do that a second time through the exact same row. And the second single crochet. And then you're just going to tie that off. Nice and close to the bottom of the ear if you can. And then bring that out and through the middle of the head again. And then we'll do the same with the other ear. Thread your needle. This time you have to be a little more careful to match them up. So I'm a little tiny bit behind center. So we want to go a little tiny bit behind center on this one. And there's no stitch. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go here. And hopefully that kind of pulls it up a bit. And then go through your first single crochet. I'm going to do it like this so you can really see what I'm doing. So we're in the round up through the single crochet. Go back in that same stitch in the round. and then back through that first stitch. See, will that tighten up for me now though? Eventually. Don't do it the way I just did it, but that, so you can see. I'm gonna have to redo that. Okay. And then same thing, one stitch below. And that second single crochet in the ear. Repeat it around just to secure it. And then you're going to tie it on. And put it down and through. Coming out the same place your last ear string was. Whoop. And then you're gonna tie that once. And then pull it tight and see if you need to bring them ears in a bit. And then tie it a couple of times and thread it out the back. Oh, we're getting close to being done. All right, let's put our little bit of brown on our tail. So I'm just taking some of my scraps. I'm going to leave one longer one for bringing in the eyes. Oh no, that'll be the main color. So let's see, how many did I put on here? 1, that's 3. So you need about 3 strands. Find the middle of those. I'm just going to cut the extra off right now. And you're just going to put your hook in one of your ends, one of your last. Just make sure you're not in the end you threaded up, your tail. Make sure you're not in that, and you should be okay. If you need to, use your darning needle to make a hole. Insert your hook. Grab your 3 strands of yarn, fold them over your hook, bring them through that little piece of your tail, and then you're just going to grab them again and bring them through that loop you made. And then when you pull on that, it'll make a nice little tie. Whoopsie, lest you do that. And then just cut these as long as you figure, and I always pull mine and cut them too short, so I'm going to try and do a little bit better today. It's probably a little long. There's your little tail. Let's see how close the tail to this one is if you're doing the plush one. Okay, so I use regular yarn for that, and that makes more sense. You'd think it'd been a year since I did it, but it's only been weeks. So I took a bunch of regular yarn, would have folded it over and done the same thing. All right, let's bring these eyes in. Let's see if I can fix this a little bit. So you're just going to take your main color yarn. You're going to put it kind of in the center between your eyes, and you're going to come out down kind of just under the center of your one eye. So kind of the outside, but centered, if that makes sense. You don't want it way out here. You want it just kind of underneath. And leave a little bit for tying. Then you're going to come up in the same row that you put your eye in. So just to the inside. And then you're going to mirror that on the other side. So you're going to come up in this stitch right here, just on the inside of your eye, on the same row you put it in. And then you're going to do the same thing for the bottom center. And I come out now. Now, there's been twice now that that wasn't enough, but for now, let's see what it looks like. You're just going to pull those nice and tight together. Kind of shape them how you want them. I think I'm going to go with that. So for me, it worked out. If you find they're popping away still, you can always go back and forth a couple of times, but make sure you're going the exact same way you started. So out here, down, over, on the bottom, and then up, and then out. I'm going to tie mine. And then I'm just going to get rid of those ends out the back. You know what I'd really love to see? If someone did this in the plush yarn in these colors. That would be cute. Okay. Yeah, see that? Actually, you're looking a bit on a down angle from the camera view, but I'm liking it a little better from my view now. I mean, I still could have done a better job, but it's at least looking better. So let's put on the nostrils. So I'm going to use black. It kind of matches the eyes on the little one. You could try the darker brown if you're using my colors. If you're doing the white dairy cow, I would use black probably, but you can use any color you want. That's the fun thing about crocheting. You can almost make a totally different thing just by changing the color. So you're going to come just over, I don't know, one hole over maybe, and one hole over. You're going to go in, kind of go under the yarn, or under the stuffing so you don't see your black thread, and then over. And I put my nose up and down, kind of like when I did the pig. I don't need that much on that side. And then you're going to take one end and you're going to come down. I'm just going to make mine little. I'm going to come down and then out some here where you're not going to see it when you put the bottom lip on, if you're putting that on. Do the same thing with the other side. Just gonna match up where you think it's gonna look good. This might be too short, but let's try it. I feel like I could go one more, but it puts me on an angle. And then you want to come out the same stitch, very important, as your other one, or you're going to have a little black dot here. So I guess that's okay. These can be kind of pulled in. If you lose them and you can't see them like this, you could always go around here a couple of times before they come out the bottom. And you're just going to tie that and put that out. You're starting to look good now. It's funny how something that looks quite awkward can be changed just by adding all the details. And I know there's a lot of details. I'd rather sew this body 100 times than sew on the little extra parts. But it's definitely worth it in the end. I used to let my parts sit for days and weeks before I got them sewed on. Well, I can't do that when I'm making a video if I want to get it out there. All right. Okay, so let's see. If you did the color I'm doing, you could put some little, well, you could for both of them. You could put some little tufts of yellow up, or of brown up here if you want. Let's try it with a couple of brown and a couple of the orangey brown. It'd probably look a lot better on the... So if you want to do that, all you're going to do is stick your hook down and around just like you did the tail. If I do that, I'm going to do that off camera. I just got to decide, because the horns and this color don't really separate, and I kind of like the space with the horns. Okay, if you're doing the white cow, I'm just going to do a sample spot. Oh wait, we didn't put this on. We better do that. Always forget stuff. All you're going to do is bring this. This is going to be tricky on the little cow. But you just want to sew this on. So it kind of goes like this. I think I want this side actually this way. Oh, see, I should be restarting this right now. But, oh, good thing I didn't. I think I found a better way to do it. So grab a stitch, go through, hopefully you're centered. Put as many stitches as you need on there to make it just have that little lip there. And you want to make sure it's centered and doesn't flop down. I think I'm just going to tack this on for now. Once you get that sewn on how you want it, look at what I did somehow. Sewn on how you want it, then you'll just tie it and bring your strings through. Well, I was definitely wrong when I said the lip didn't do nothing for the little one. It actually does look kind of cute on there. Okay, so now you need to do the little spot. Oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this in black yarn, should I? I'm just going to use it in the light brown here. So you're just going to make your knot with your loop, or however you start in the round. And there's so many ways you can do a spot. You can keep it simple and just put 6 or 10 single crochets around for a round spot. My battery is dying. Oh, I never plugged it in. There, hopefully that recorded. Okay. Or you can just kind of play around. So let's play around with this one. So I'm going to do pull through in my chain 1 just to get that yarn attached. You can start with a single crochet. You can do a bunch of singles, you can do some halves. So wrap your yarn, put it through, pull it up, pull it through all 3, so there's your half. You can do, go back down to a single if you want it. Then you could go to a double, wrap around, go in your loop, grab your yarn, pull up and through, and then you go through 2. Grab your yarn again and go through 2. And let's say we do a half. And a half. Let's do a double. I don't know how different I'm making it from a circle, but you can also do your 6 and then do this. So I went double, double, let's do a half, and then let's do a single. Let's do another half and then a single. And then just slip stitch. You got yourself kind of just a weird little shape. If you want it bigger, I would do 6 and then do a round 2 like this, but make sure you're putting, you'll have to increase every stitch. So whatever you're doing, it'll be 2 in this, 2 in this, 2 in this. These are all just 1 round of 8 single crochets. Same with the bigger cow. And I wish I'd done not a circle. I don't mind the circles around the body, but I think for the top, see, I tried to make my circle, I tried to pull it when I sewed it on, so it wasn't quite a perfect little circle on the top of his head like this one. So I think that might be everything. Where's my cows? There they are. I guess just a reminder, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And I do have a lot of interesting things, I think, coming in the future because I'm getting a lot of requests for some very interesting things. I just got to figure out of the 3 or 4 ways I want to do it, how I got to get it into one idea. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I feel all your support. You guys have a great day and happy crocheting.